mi canal. Yo me llamo Siré. Soy una abogada afro-latina licenciada practicando la ley criminal, pero como todos ustedes, a mí me fascina cuando estamos hablando de casos de crímenes reales. En este video vamos a hablar del caso de Carly Gregg. Si quieren más video en español, nada más dime allá abajo. Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Desiree. I'm a licensed and practicing Afro-Latina criminal attorney who, much like the rest of you, has this severe fascination with true crime cases. Listen, the case we're going to talk about today is another case of teens killing their parents. This is a case that is so heart-wrenching, so sad, so hard to watch, so hard to listen to, so hard to conceptualize. This case was so emotional and filled with emotions for all parties involved. And that is the case of Carly Gregg. You guys know I typically like to give background information about the victims and alleged victims of the crime before I proceed into the video. I will say this, since I've started doing more live trial coverage, it's been a lot harder to find background information on the alleged victims and victims of the crimes. So, with that being said, we're going to try a new format today, okay? Let's talk about the crime first, and then let's go into the trial and what happened therein. On March 19th of 2024, a then 14-year-old Carly Gregg shot her mother, Ashley Smylie, in the neck. This shot proved to be fatal. After the fatal shot was delivered, Carly called a number of friends over to her home, requesting their assistance. According to prosecution, Carly called no less than 5 friends over that day. Although most of her friends were busy or otherwise unable to attend, one friend did show up to Carly's home that day. When this one friend did appear, Carly asked if the friend was squeamish or if the friend had ever seen a dead body before. When Carly's friend responded no, Carly then proceeded to show her friend her mother's dead body. After showing her friend her mother's dead body, Carly asked that her friend wait outside, specifically because she knew her stepfather, Heath Smylie, was coming home soon, and her plans for him were exactly the same. When Carly's stepfather arrived, Carly's friend stated she heard 3 gunshots from outside. Thankfully, Heath was able to wrestle the gun out of Carly's hands, and after viewing his wife's dead body, Heath placed this heart-wrenching 911 call.
What's the location of your emergency? What daughter said to shoot me? Your daughter tried to shoot you? Yeah. Shooting at me. wrong with me. Just calm down. What's your name?
My name is Heath Smylie.
Okay, calm down for me. Give me your name again.
Heath Smylie.
Heath Smylie?
Yes, sir.
Alright, mister, what's your phone number you calling me from? Did she hit you?
Yeah, I got hit in the neck a little bit.
Okay, so did it graze your neck?
Yes, sir.
Alright, and what's her name?
Carly Gregg.
Carly Gregg? Does she still have a gun on her?
I took it from her. She ran.
You took it from her and she ran?
Yes, sir. She was screaming something at me I couldn't understand. I locked the door. She's outside. I don't know what's going on.
Which way did she run off to?
She ran into the backyard and went over a fence.
Ran into the backyard and went over your fence?
Yeah.
What is she wearing?
T-shirt, gray shirt and some jeans.
Gray shirt and jeans? About how tall is she?
5'2".
About 5'2"? What color hair?
Brownish, just short hair.
5'2" with...
Back door, she opened fire on me. And was just screaming.
Okay, just calm down for me. We got everybody headed for the She what?
She killed her mom!
She killed her mom?
Yeah, that's what I'm screaming about.
Where's the mom?
Mom, when I do that, she tried to kill me.
Where's the mom at? Sir. Sir.
God, why?
Sir. Okay, your address is 215, correct?
214.
214. His address is 214. Okay, sir. Where's your wife?
She's dead on the floor of my stepdaughter's room.
She's on the floor in your stepdaughter's room? What's your wife's name?
Ashley Smylie.
Ashley Smylie? Was there any problem with it, sir? Sir, I need you to speak with me, okay? Can you go outside the house and speak to me?
Okay. I don't know what's going on. The stepdaughter's been therapy for a little while, trying to work out some problems and been on some antidepressants.
Okay, and you say your wife has been shot?
Open the door, the cops are here.
They're there? Okay, sir, I'm gonna let you speak with them, okay? Okay. Speak with them, okay?
Following police's arrival, Carly was arrested half a mile away from her home.
I got her handcuffed. Actually, look. Let me step out real quick for me. Alright. Hey, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna move them around to the front of you, okay? I'm gonna move the handcuffs around to the front of you. Okay. Alright, so what we're gonna do here is we're gonna swab your hands, okay? Right. Now, we'll ask you a bunch of questions, but obviously you fired with a pistol, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Alright, look. I need you to hold your hand out like this. I'm gonna do your right hand first, okay? Just your right hand. Keep your front like that.
Swab up here.
What is this?
It's a GSR. It shows which hand did you shoot with?
Okay.
Which hand did you shoot with?
I'll go up.
Flop the hand, turn the hand over,
Turn it over.
and rub on the outside part around the knuckles.
Where do you want, where do you want his from? I guess you can put it in my vehicle with my key in the key fob is in my left pocket.
Alright, now so go ahead and do it. Alright.
Is my stepdad okay?
I don't know, baby. I can't talk to you about
Oh, here, I'm just...
it. Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Carly was facing 3 charges. She was charged with murdering her mother, the attempted murder of her stepfather, and tampering with evidence. Although no defendant is entitled to the benefit of any bargain, meaning no defendant is entitled to a plea offer, the prosecutors in this case did make one to Carly. They asked that Carly plead guilty to murdering her mother in exchange for a 40-year sentence. Because she would be facing criminal charges as an adult, should this case proceed to trial, Carly would be facing life in prison without the possibility of parole. Carly rejected that offer.
All right, stand Mississippi versus Carly Gregg, cause number 2024-34169. Please bring the defendant to the podium. All right, we're here by way of pre-trial conference checklist, which means the defendant has rejected any recommendation from the state. For the record, what was the last recommendation of the state of Mississippi?
Here, the state recommended 40 years in the custody of Mississippi Department of Corrections and agreed to not cross counts 2 and 3 of the indictment. Again, there were fines and no contact and things like that.
All right, Ms. Gregg, did you receive that recommendation of 40 years?
Yes, sir.
And it was your choice and your choice alone to reject that recommendation?
Yes, Your Honor.
You know, if she proceeds to trial, count 1, what's the potential sentence?
Life.
If the jury fails to affix the sentence at life, what's the sentencing range?
20 years to 40 years.
All right, and count 2, what's the potential sentence?
Between 20 years and life.
All right. She's 14 years old, so if the jury fails to affix the punishment at life, she's facing 50 years.
Give or take, Your Honor, yes.
Okay, and in count 3, what's she facing?
Another 10 years.
Another 10 years. So the jury will either acquit you, or you'll be facing 2 life sentences, or this court can sentence you up to 93 years. Do you understand that?
Yes, Your Honor.
It's your choice and your choice alone to proceed to trial.
Yes, Your Honor.
Have a seat.
The first day of Carly's trial began some months ago, September 16th of 2024. As typical, prosecution and defense delivered their opening statements. In the prosecutor's opening statement, she characterized Carly as living a double life.
May I proceed, Your Honor?
Yes, ma'am.
This is a case about Carly Madison Gregg. Carly Gregg has been charged with murdering her mother, Ashley Smylie, and attempting to murder her stepfather, Heath Smylie. She's also been charged with tampering with physical evidence for removing a camera and hiding it that captured a portion of the events. Ladies and gentlemen, you'll hear testimony throughout the next few days during this case. You'll hear about some secret life that Carly lived. You'll hear that Carly had a secret boyfriend. You'll hear that Carly had a secret iPod, that she had secret social media accounts that she was using to communicate with people on this iPod when her parents had taken her phone away. You'll hear that she was secretly cutting on her thigh using a knife. You'll hear that she secretly had burner phones her mom and stepdad didn't know about that she was using. You'll hear that she had secret weed vape pens and that she before going to school at times. Ladies and gentlemen, that's not why we're here though. We're here because of what she did on March the 19th, 2024. So that you'll hear that Carly is the daughter of Ashley Smylie, the stepdaughter of Heath Smylie, that Heath and Ashley were married sometime in 2020. You'll hear that Carly's Bible not been in her life for about a year or more, that he was a known drug user, had violent and angry tendencies. You'll hear that back in January, Carly got in trouble with her parents when they found this iPod, that they got onto her for using these secret accounts and for communicating with people. You'll hear that around the same time that she had this boyfriend they found out about, and that they asked her to break up with him, and that later they found out she was still seeing this boy. You'll hear at some point that Carly got in trouble at school. She was cheating. She'd found the answers to a test and gave them to the other students. You'll hear that all of this was happening about the same time that they found out Carly was cutting on her legs. You'll hear that as a concerned parent, what they did was they got Carly in therapy. She was being treated for anxiety and stress. You'll hear that she continued smoking those vape pens even after in therapy. So now I want to take you to the real reason we're here and what you'll hear. We're here because on March the 19th, 2024, Carly rode to school with her mother that day. Ashley was a school teacher at Northwest Rankin, taught geometry. Carly was in the 10th grade. You'll hear that morning she got in a little altercation with one of her friends, cussed him out. But what you'll hear, ladies and gentlemen, from the testimony of this friend is that he was so worried about Carly's use of smoking marijuana, and so worried about her being high, and so worried about her having these burner phones that her mom didn't know about, that he felt compelled to tell Miss Ashley Smylie that day. Ladies and gentlemen, after the incident with Carly that morning, you'll hear that he gets in touch with another friend and he's like, hey, you got to keep her distracted so I can go tell Miss Smylie what's going on. Ladies and gentlemen, this friend cared about Carly. He was like, I gotta intervene. I gotta tell her. I'm afraid of what's happening. You'll hear from him that he did in fact tell Miss Smylie. That after 4th block that day, he goes and he tells Miss Smylie, hey, Carly has got these vapes. She's got this phone. Ladies and gentlemen, you'll hear then that Carly Gregg rides in the car home with her mother from school to their house. They leave school sometime after 3:30. They get home a little before 4. You'll hear that when they get inside the house, it's only their 2 dogs, Ashley Smylie and Carly Gregg. Immediately, Carly goes and lets the dogs out. You'll hear testimony that Ashley then goes into Carly's room. You'll hear that while Ashley is in her room, that Carly's still outside. At some point, Ashley finds what law enforcement believe to be the 4 boxes that contain vape pens. Testimony will be that we believe she carried them from Carly's room to her bedroom, went back to searching Carly's room. The evidence will show that almost immediately upon Carly coming inside the house, that she walks straight to her parents' goes straight to her mom's side of the bed and removes a .357 Magnum from under the mattress. We believe the testimony will be that then she concealed that .357 Magnum behind her back. As she walked through the kitchen, she peeks her head around. We believe the testimony will show that she peeks her head around the kitchen to make sure that her mom hasn't come out of her bedroom. We believe the evidence will then show that she walked with that .357 Magnum behind her back, walked in to her own bedroom, and then fired 3 shots into her mother, killing her. We believe the testimony will then be that very moment after she shot and killed her mother, she then hides that gun back out of the camera, walks back into that kitchen, sits down on a stool with the gun behind her, picks up her mother's cell phone, puts her mom's passcode into the phone. We believe the testimony will be that then she texts her stepdad and said something to the effect of, "When will you be home, honey?" Testimony will be that then she waited for him to respond. "I'll be a little bit longer." She sends him a thumbs up. Ladies and gentlemen, we believe the testimony will then be that after she puts the phone back down and walks out of sight with the camera, that between the next 45 minutes or so, that the defendant reaches out to or attempts to reach out to about 5 or 6 of her friends. Some were FaceTime, some were text messages. We believe the evidence will show that during this time, she was asking them all for help, trying to get them to come over to her house. She wouldn't tell them why. We believe that one of them's going to say he even offered to call 911, and she told him no. The evidence will also be that one of these friends did in fact come over to help Carly that day. She didn't know why, but she knew that her friend needed help, and she went to that home. We believe the evidence will show that when that friend arrived at Carly's house, that Carly walked to the front door, asked her, "Are you squeamish around dead bodies?" We believe the evidence will show that then she took that friend and showed her her dead mother laying on the floor. We believe the evidence will show that after that, she says, "I put 3 in my mom, and I got 3 more waiting for my stepdad when he gets home."
Carly's defense attorney, Bridget Todd, stated that this was not a whodunit because Carly did it. Instead, she didn't really intend to harm her mother or her stepfather.
Good afternoon. I know it's been a long morning for you all, so I will try to do this as briefly as possible. This is not a whodunit case. We know who took action on March 19th to bring about the death of Ashley Smylie and the injuries to Heath Smylie. However, this is a why case. Why did it happen? Why did this exceptional child with no history of violence, who was loved by her friends, her teachers, her parents, who had a good home life, who loved her mother, why did she shoot her mom? Why did she shoot at her stepfather? The state would like you to believe the answer to those questions don't matter, but we know better than that. The answers to those questions is why we're here today, and it's what you're here to do. We believe the evidence will show that there were 3 victims on March 19th: Ashley Smylie, Heath Smylie, and Carly Smylie, from Carly Gregg. That they were all 3 victims. We believe the evidence will show that Carly had been suffering from a mental illness, that Carly was not aware on March 19th that she had a mental illness. We believe the evidence will show that Carly's parents, who lived with her, were not aware that illness. We believe the evidence will show that Carly's close friends, who saw her at school every day, were not aware that Carly was suffering from a mental illness, because it's hard to look at a person and understand that they have a mental illness. It's hard to look at a person and know that they have a mental illness. That's why it's often referred to as the invisible disease. A person can exhibit symptoms of a mental illness without people necessarily knowing that they have one, or other people necessarily knowing the person has. While the events on March 19th were tragic, the events on March 19th were not intentional.
Miss Todd continued that Carly suffered from mental illnesses that prevented her from appreciating the harm that she was causing to her mother and attempting to cause to her stepfather.
The evidence will show that Carly's mother had worried for years about Carly having the same mental illness that her father had. The evidence will show that Carly was very emotionally tied into her mother's emotions, and that Carly never wanted her mother to worry about her. The evidence will show that Carly was scared of how her mother would react to the knowledge that if Carly had the same mental illness that her father had. That doesn't sound like a child that doesn't love her mom.
In addition to playing Heath's heart-wrenching 911 call for the jurors, the prosecution called Sheriff Deputy Hunter Lewis, who was one of the first responding officers at the scene.
Is that in Rankin County?
Yes, sir, it is.
All right. Did you respond to 214 Ashton Way?
Yes, sir, I did.
Whenever you arrived at 214 Ashton Way on March 19, 2024, were there any other law enforcement personnel there whenever you arrived?
No, sir.
So were you the first one there?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Whenever you arrived on scene that day on March 19th at 214 Ashton Way, just tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury what you observed whenever you got there.
When I arrived, the door was locked, but I could hear somebody screaming and highly upset on the inside of the house.
Okay. Did you later find out who was inside the house?
Yes, sir, I did.
Who was that?
That's Heath Smylie.
At any point, did Mr. Smylie come outside, or tell us what happened next?
Yes, I knocked on the door several times, announced who I was, and then he opened the door.
Can you describe Mr. Smiley's demeanor that you personally observed?
He was hysterical, highly upset, crying.
Okay. Whenever he came out, tell us what happened next.
He fell to the ground on the porch just outside the front door once, and then I asked him where his wife was. He said that she was inside on the floor.
What information, I'm sorry to interrupt you, Deputy Lewis, what information, if any, had you been provided by dispatch?
Just advised that been 2 people shot inside the residence.
Okay, so you stated that Mr. Smylie came outside, then you spoke to him briefly. Then what happened next?
After I spoke to him, I went inside to check on the other party.
Okay, and then did you do anything to Miss Smylie whenever you encountered her inside?
I did. I initially checked for a pulse, and I couldn't feel the pulse, so I lifted the towel to see what kind of see what had happened, and that's when I noticed she had been shot in the face.
Following Deputy Lewis's testimony, the prosecution called one of Carly's friends to the stand. This 16-year-old friend and classmate of Carly's testified about his concerns for her well-being in the days leading up to her mother's death. The second day of Carly's trial continued on September 17th of 2024. On this date, the prosecution called the friend of Carly's that I told you about, that Carly asked to come to her home and see her mother's dead body. And then as their last witness, to tie everything together, the prosecution called Carly's stepfather, Heath Smylie.
You've actually listened back and watched that particular video.
Yes, ma'am.
I want to talk to you about, tell the ladies and gentlemen, Heath, and I know it's probably difficult, you can take as much time as you need. Tell the ladies and gentlemen exactly what you remember about when you came home on March the 19th, 2024.
Everything seemed pretty normal, and I came on in, and when I opened the door to the kitchen there, gun went off in my face before the door was, I don't know, 3 or 4 inches wide open, and everything kind of went pretty fast from there. It was a blur. So.
I want to take you back just a step. Yesterday, ladies and gentlemen, saw a bit of a video from inside your house, but just so we're clear, when you say you were coming into the kitchen, I believe you pull into the garage and there's a door that leads from the garage into the home.
Yes.
And then there's a little laundry room area.
Yes.
And then there's another door kind of beside your refrigerator that leads from the laundry room into the kitchen area.
Yes.
Were you coming in the first door or the second door when the gun went off?
The second door from the laundry room to the kitchen.
And do you remember, is there anything you do every day when you come in the house?
Usually stop and take my shoes off there and come on in and change clothes.
Do you remember if you took your shoes off on March the 19th?
I think I did, yeah.
Was it unusual for that second door to be closed in your house?
Sometimes it was, sometimes it wasn't. We would shut that door a lot of times, trying to keep the sound of the washer and dryer down, or trying to keep one of the dogs out of the garbage can that we had in there.
I have to do something similar. Y'all have 2 large dogs, right?
2 golden retrievers.
And so on that day, the second door was what was closed.
Yes.
I believe you said that you didn't get it open probably 3 or 5 inches before it went off. What did you remember seeing, Heath?
Just gun flash in my face, and And went off 2 more times, but my hand was on the gun after the first shot, and I twisted it from her.
Who was pointing that gun at you?
It was Carly.
Who pulled the trigger when you opened the door?
The first one I know was Carly. After that, my hand was on the gun too, and I know I had a scratch on my thumb and all. I very well could have hit it. I know that third time.
How close, Heath, was that gun to your face when that went off?
Maybe a foot.
Did you ever get struck by a bullet?
Yes, one of them kind of grazed right through this muscle up here.
Can you tell, ladies and gentlemen, what did that feel like?
I know this sounds weird, but I honestly have never felt it to this day.
When the gun went off in your face, tell, ladies and gentlemen, I mean, was your body in a state of shock?
Not at that moment. I was trying to figure out what was going on.
Did you see anybody inside your home other than Carly?
No.
Walk us through. You said that you were able to at some point get the gun from her. Tell us, Heath, what is it that you remember after that?
She was screaming out of her mind, scared. It was like she had seen a demon or something. She was terrified. And my first thought was there was an intruder somewhere, and she thought she was after somebody else.
And to be clear, Carly never told you that she thought somebody else was in the house, right?
No, that's the feeling that I got. She was terrified out of her mind.
And at that time, you did not yet know that your wife was dead, right?
No, not at that time.
So Carly's scared. She's screaming when she shoots at you. How many shots went off from that gun?
At that time, there was 3.
What type of gun was it that you took from Carly?
It was my Taurus revolver.
And what type of what caliber weapon is that?
So the gun is a .357 Magnum, but I think it had the 38 special rounds in it. If the gun's a .357, it can also shoot 38s. A little bit lighter recoil.
And what color was that gun?
It's just the gun matte silver.
Prior to taking it out of Carly's hand, where was the last time you saw that gun?
I actually kept it on her side of the bed. So it had been there for probably a couple years.
When you say on her side of the bed, was it on a nightstand or was it somewhere else?
I think she kept it. We had little cubbies underneath the edge of the bed. The mattress is sitting up on. I think it was sitting up under there.
Between the mattress and the cubbies, underneath the mattress?
I think she just had it in a cubby under there.
Was the gun just loose, or was it in some sort of holster the last time you saw it?
I do not recall that. It was a while back. It had been sitting for a long time.
Did you have other guns in the house on that day?
Yes, I had an old shotgun that I've had for years that's unloaded in the closet, and I had an AR that I had gotten. It was also unloaded in the closet.
Were there some other guns, maybe in a safe too, somewhere?
There was a Glock in the safe. There was a BB gun probably in the house somewhere too. I don't know.
Do you know if Carly knew the location of any of those guns?
She probably knew about the 2 in the closet, but like I said, they were unloaded, and the last time I had tried to talk her into shooting, she was too little to even hold them up. They're heavy, big.
And you had several guns in your house. Did you and Ashley ever go shoot guns?
Yes, we did.
That was something y'all enjoyed doing together?
Yes.
When you took the gun out of Carly's hand, what did you do with the gun?
I was holding on to it, and like I said, I, at that time, thought there might be someone else in the house, like an intruder or something. So I immediately started checking the house and looking for Ashley.
Did you attempt to call Ashley also?
I did.
I want to take just a step back, Heath. You get the gun from Carly. You said that she was screaming. What did she do next?
She fell back into the kitchen island, just kind of straight back onto her butt, and was screaming, jumped up, ran out the back door. And I mean, I'm still pretty quick and agile, but I knew I couldn't catch her. She was moving so fast. She ran out the back and took off, and I knew I wasn't going to be able to catch her, so I turned around, stepped back in, and I locked the back door behind me.
Do you know why you locked the back door?
Because I was thinking there might be someone else out and about and around, in or out of the house. So I went through checking the house.
Do you remember telling anybody that you were in such shock that you didn't even try to shoot Carly back or anything like that?
No, it was very evident to me immediately that something was very, very off with Carly. The way she was screaming, the way she looked. She was moving so fast.
So, Heath, you said Carly is at this point, she's out of the house, she's run off. You never actually saw someone, other than Carly at the house, right?
No.
So you locked the back door, you're going through the house, you have this firearm still in your hand. At any point, did you open up the firearm?
I opened the cylinder on it to check to see how many had been used or was left in it, and closed it back up and started checking the house.
When you opened it back up, how many live rounds did it appear were left in the gun?
Just one.
And how many rounds does that .357 Magnum revolver hold?
It's a 7-shot.
So you knew that she'd fired. At that point, you knew she'd fired 3 at or in your direction.
Yes.
You did not know what the other 3 had been used for?
Correct.
The last time you saw that gun, were all 7 rounds live?
As far as I know, I guess the last time it had been used was a couple years before, or sometime when Ashley had shot at some, and I assume she had reloaded it.
So Heath, you're walking through the house. You have this gun, afraid that maybe there's somebody else in the house. You said, I believe that you tried to call Ashley.
Yes.
Did she answer?
No.
Did you find her phone?
Found her phone. It was on a counter in our living room.
Was there a second phone beside it?
Yes.
Did you recognize the other phone?
I didn't really stop to look.
So you realize that Ashley's phone is there. Walk us through what happened next, Heath.
I checked our bedroom, bathroom, closet, other side of the bed, under the desk in there, and turned and started looking, going towards the other end of the house. And I glanced in our spare little 3rd bedroom, and then turned and went into Carly's room. And that's where I found Ashley.
And just like that, after less than 2 full days of testimony, the prosecution rested their case. I've mentioned this in another video of mine. I don't think quick trials are always the best. I think it depends on the evidence. I think it depends on how much you have or you don't have. It does depend. The third day of Carly's trial continued on September 18th of 2024. During this day, defense called a psychiatrist, Dr. Andrew Clark, to testify about Carly's mental state during the time of the offense.
And can you explain the significance of bipolar II disorder and dissociation and the auditory hallucinations?
Oh, so in the period of time up until March 12th, Carly reported that her mood was flat, that she was zombie, that she was still quite depressed, she was still cutting. She also reported that the voices were getting worse, that they were becoming more urgent, more prominent, and she was beginning to worry that they were taking over for her.
After Dr. Clark's testimony, defense called one of Carly's other friends, who testified that Carly stated she was hearing voices in her head. The fourth day of Carly's trial continued on September 19th of 2024. On this day, the prosecution put on a rebuttal case. I'm not sure we've had many trials that I've covered on this channel that talk about rebuttal cases or how many prosecutors have put on a rebuttal case, but in essence, the prosecution will always give the first and last word, and I've explained this to you guys before. If the prosecution chooses to put on a rebuttal case after the defense chooses to put on a case, they are more than entitled to do that. So the prosecution goes first, they prove their case, defense decides if they want to put on a case. If they do put on a case, the prosecution then has an opportunity to rebut any evidence that the defense put on during their case. During their rebuttal case, the prosecution called Carly's therapist, who testified that she was fine during their last session, which occurred one day before the shooting.
And you talked about how you had gone through conflict management with Carly on the day before the incident.
Correct.
I think you also talked about kind of what you observed between Carly and Ashley's relationship. Can you talk about why you thought that was important to put in your record?
Yes, sure. Well, ordinarily, termination of care is in a very different manner, and I knew that this one was a very sad act that occurred, and I wanted to be clear that I did not ever observe them together other than in the waiting room, and I never really saw, anything that would allude me to believe that, or hint at any kind of very severe danger or threat.
At any point during your treatment in sessions with Carly, did you think that she was being physically abused by anyone?
No, never. In fact, I asked several times about the stepdad, and I'm very confident in her response, verbally and non-verbally, that it felt very much to me like that nobody that she was living with had been abusing her. Now, her biological father, yes.
And she described some incidents where he had been physical with Ashley as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then what about, I didn't see any note of this, but did she at any point ever report that she had been sexually abused by anyone?
No, she told me she had not.
The fifth and final day of Carly's trial continued on September 20th of 2024. On this day, the prosecution and defense delivered their closing arguments, and the case went to the jury for their deliberation.
This is not a case about who did it. And in fact, all of the evidence that you've seen tells you exactly that. It's not a case about who did it. You haven't seen one shred of evidence in this case that what happened on March 19th, 2024 was caused by anyone other than Carly Madison Gregg. The defense also told you during opening statements on Monday that the state wants you to leave your common sense at the door. That they want you to tie it up in a bucket and leave it at the door. Ladies and gentlemen, all we want you to do in this case is use your common sense. And in fact, that's what Judge Arthur just instructed you to do in the very first jury instruction. And I want to talk about a few of these jury instructions with you real quick. But in jury instruction number 1, which you'll have back in the room with you, on the second page, he instructs you, you're required and expected to use your good common sense and sound, honest judgment in considering and weighing the testimony of each witness who has testified. You should not be influenced by bias, sympathy, or prejudice. Your verdict should be based on the evidence and not upon speculation, guesswork, or conjecture. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the state, all we want you to do is to go back there and use your good common sense and your sound, honest judgment. And again, I don't believe that you've heard one shred of evidence throughout this entire week that the person who shot Ashley Smylie was in fact Carly Madison Gregg. The person who shot and attempted to kill Heath Smylie was Carly Madison Gregg. And the person who took down the camera from the kitchen and hid it in the refrigerator behind some water bottles was Carly Madison Gregg.
Good morning. I know it's been a long week for all of you guys, and I know you're tired of coming here every day, but I want to take a minute and talk about why the state has the burden of proof that they have, the highest burden of proof that our law allows, which is beyond a reasonable doubt. A lot of people think that having that high of a burden is there because it's supposed to protect the defendants in criminal cases. But in fact, I think it protects the jurors just the same, if not more, than it does the defendant, because making the state prove every element of their case beyond a reasonable doubt is what is going to keep each of you from waking up in the middle of the night. The decisions that you make today will not just affect Carly Gregg, it will affect her entire family. And it's a heavy burden to carry. So I want to take a few minutes and talk about the truth. The truth is rarely pure and never simple. It's what Oscar Wilde said. Let's talk about what is undisputed in this case. It is undisputed that Carly loved her mom. You never heard the testimony of one person in this case who said otherwise. It's undisputed that Carly had no history of violence prior to March 19th. Nothing you heard. There is no evidence that tells you otherwise. It's undisputed that Carly Gregg loved her stepdad. In fact, he was the only dad she really ever had. No one told you otherwise. It's undisputed that Carly Gregg believed her father had a mental illness, bipolar disorder and schizophrenia. Carly was afraid of her dad. She knew he was an unsuccessful man. She knew he was abusive. She didn't like being around him. She didn't want to be like him. It's also undisputed that that's something Carly worried about all the time, because that's something her mom worried about all the time. Her mom frequently worried that Carly was going to end up with the same mental illnesses that her dad had.
Much like some of the last few cases we've covered on this channel, their deliberations were quick.
Ma'am, I see you're holding some papers. The jury been able to reach a verdict in any of these counts?
Yes, sir.
All right, if you would, please hand the paper to the bailiff. Ms. Gregg, please rise and come to the podium, along with your attorneys. All right, the verdicts appear to be in proper form. Verdict of the jury is count 1. We, the jury, find the defendant, Carly Madison Gregg, guilty of first-degree murder as charged in the indictment. Count 2, we the jury find the defendant, Carly Madison Gregg, guilty of attempted murder as charged in the indictment. Count 3, we the jury find the defendant, Carly Madison Gregg, guilty of tampering with evidence as charged in the indictment. Please be seated, Ms. Gregg.
Following the jury's verdict, Carly learned what her sentence would be.
Your sentences will be as follows. As to count 1, the jury having fixed the verdict at life imprisonment, this court will sentence you to life imprisonment. As to count 2, you'll be sentenced to life imprisonment. As to count 3, you'll be sentenced to 10 years to serve.
This case was so sad. So ridiculously sad. As a young 14-year-old child, I can't even imagine what was going through Carly's mind when she decided that she wanted to kill her mother and try to kill her stepfather. I understand that her defense team was arguing that she wasn't in her right mind when this was committed, but the prosecutors were able to successfully dispute that. Hopefully, Carly's verdict gives peace of mind to the victims involved in this case and gives Carly ample opportunity to repent. Let's see how this new format goes, and if you guys like it, go ahead and let me know down below. As always, thank you so much for watching. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Until next time, take care.